Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session on connections and transformation. If you were watching the main stage announcements today and you were super excited by what Andrea and what Esteban presented, this is the session for you. So in this session, we'll be delving a little bit more into some of the features that you saw and also give you some more of that vision of what we're thinking about with connections within Magic ETL. Most of you already know Andrea. She needs no introduction. I'm Taslima Lalmamud. Most people just call me Lima because they can't get through the whole name. I'm the product manager for our cloud connector library and also our third-party connector IDE. So if you've ever worked with any of those things, that's my baby. So today, we're going to, I know the title says Connections and Transformation. We're actually going to talk about transformation first and then connections. Andrea is going to break down some more of those features that you saw on main stage that are available today, and then some more as a bonus, things that are coming in beta, and also how we're bringing AI into Magic. And after that, I'll talk a little bit more about the connections framework that you saw Esteban walking through today and where we're going with it, why we think it's important. And then also, I would be slightly remiss if I didn't actually talk about our current connector framework and how that's going to fit in with what you saw on main stage as well. Finally, we'll wrap up and give you some time to ask us any questions that you might have. Okay, so let's begin. Andrea.
Hello again, friends. Is my mic on? Okay, sweet. Hello again, friends. What a year for Magic, am I right? I am excited to spend the next few minutes demoing some of what you saw on main stage earlier today, as well as a few other things that are in beta and coming soon. But first, I want to take a minute to step back and celebrate you, the Magic user community, the wellspring from which so many of this year's updated features and enhancements sprung. I mentioned some of this on main stage, but I really want to underscore, if you feel like Magic is better today than it was this time last year, it is due in no small part to your input. I literally read every single Ideas Exchange idea in the data transformation related sections, as well as countless community forum posts, Slack posts, etc. In direct response to 37 of your Ideas Exchange ideas, we were able to implement a laundry list of enhancements this year, small and large, that have made Magic so much better. I applaud you and I thank you and I encourage you to continue engaging with me and my team in the coming year. I'm excited to continue working with you to make Magic the best ETL tool out there. One more note before we move on. I want to introduce you to my team. You probably recognize some of them from webinars, community posts, Slack, or even meeting with some of you. These guys are some of the most talented engineers out there, and we are so fortunate to have them working on this amazing tool we all love. It is rare to have engineers that engage so directly with customers and care so much about your experiences with the product that they are building. I feel so lucky to work with this incredible group of individuals, some of whom are in the audience with us today. So I think a round of applause is in order for those who really make the magic happen. All right, on to the demos. I'm going to click out a PowerPoint here in a minute, and the rest of my time will be in Magic itself, showing you all the things live and in real time. So please pray to the demo gods for me that all goes smoothly and the gremlins do not show up to ruin my day. I'm going to start out by showing you 5 things that are live in your Domo today, plus one little bonus, and then a couple things that are in beta, and I'll wrap up my segment with a few AI-related demos and turn it over to Lima to talk about connection. Okay, let's do this. All right, my slides are out of order. Let's do this live. So, first things first, I'm here on the Magic canvas. I am going to go here into the canvas settings. Let me back up. So, previously, we'd get the request, we want snap to grid, we want snap to grid. I'm like, okay, y'all have snap to grid. It's just really useless because it's like 12 pixels, right? So we're giving you a broader snap to grid. You go into your canvas settings, you choose larger grid, that makes it half the size of a Magic tile. And then you can choose which one of these you want. I have an opinion about what one is the best, so we'll go with that. Okay, so that gives you a lot more utility as far as lining up your data flows and keeping everything in order. So those of us who maybe have OCD are a little bit happier with that. Um, yeah. Second, undo, redo. It feels like it should have always been here, right? But thankfully it's here now. You can just, delete literally anything, and you can go back and undo to the previous states you were in. You can also skip back to previous and forward in this history list. Column search arrived a little early in January, but for those of you who are uninitiated, you can now search for part or whole column name, and it will highlight the part of your data flow where that column is a part of the schema. I don't know how many other people have spent like 45 minutes troubleshooting a data flow because they couldn't find where the freaking column was. Yeah, so that will hopefully alleviate some of that. All right, so the SQL tile. How many have been in the SQL tile beta? Quite a few, I know. Yeah, it's really Magic ETL's worst kept secret, but it is here and available for you now in your instances. The first thing you're going to ask me is, what dialect of SQL is it? And I'm going to say, no, it doesn't have window functions yet. It is kind of its own dialect. It's basically just ANSI standard SQL, but it's like MySQL flavored, has some Redshift stuff. We essentially just taught the Magic ETL engine SQL. And so currently, we know there's a gap. It does not have window functions. Those will be coming. That is really high priority for me this year. And the elephant or big green box in the corner of the room here, tile sections and sticky notes. You guys asked for it over and over and over, and I am so thrilled that we were able to implement this for you this year. In order to operate this, you just highlight any number of tiles. You can right-click, create a section. You can, as you see here, you can nest sections inside each other, which was a happy demo accident. You can name your sections. You can change the colors, and this both visibly and logically groups together what you have encompassed in your section. Now, no section is complete without some explanatory notes, so by right-clicking anywhere on the canvas, you can add a comment. Let's see, typing live, always an adventure. Here, I love the Magic ETL community. You can use any kind of rich text editing that you might think of. You can change sizes. You can even add in hyperlinks if you want. You can control basically everything you'd expect to be able to control about this type of a feature. So somehow I've created something really hideous, but we'll go with it. It's cool, it's fine. So yeah, sections and sticky notes in your instance. I am excited to see what innovative things you do with it, how you use it for your documentation. One other thing that is now live, a lot of you asked for an increase in the row limits for previews. So we've increased that now to give you options for 1, 2, and 5 million rows. Like, it's the little things, right? But this, I think, will improve your usage of Magic for sure. But, that's all GA, which means it's like old news now, right? So I want to show you a couple of betas that are out now. So first up, this is currently in beta, and it will be going to GA in May. But it is the suite of tiles that we call Schema and Meta Select. Now, I'm going to fumble my way through this a little bit because it's really hard to explain, but once you catch the vision, it's like an aura of, amazingness. So here I have a data set that has a bunch of columns in it about Secret Santa data. It has some nulls. I don't really like how the column names are. It has all of these garbage columns at the end that came from some rogue system. So the first thing I do is I drag out the schema tile, which essentially allows you to call information schema on at any point in your magic job. And it will give you a table that shows you a column with the names of all of your columns, with the expression that generates all of the columns, and with the data types for all of the columns. I had this preview rerun, but then my laptop went to sleep, so apologies. Okay, here we go. So it creates this table for you, and then you can operate on that table to change things about your schema or your data in bulk. So for example, I am taking this first, I'm filtering out all of those garbage columns, and because this operates dynamically, now anytime those columns that start with that come through, they will get scrubbed out. You don't have to go manually add those in or remove them. Renaming columns, I wanted to rename it. I wanted to rename it with the initials the initials capitalized at the first of each word, so I can apply that formula to all of those. And then in this example here, I am null handling in bulk. I don't have time to get into very much detail about the new data type that we've introduced called Express, but I would encourage you to go into the in-tool documentation and read about it, because it gives you a ton of utility and power. So I applied all of this to the schema. Now I am taking my original data and I'm hooking it up to the meta select tile. I am saying which is my configuration input, which is my data input, and now all of those changes that I made in that really easy, elegant way have been applied to my data set. A couple things that are going into a more limited beta. So if you're interested in this, please email me, and I would be happy to get you on the wait list for the beta. But the first thing is the JSON expand tile. I'm going to show you just a very simple example to help you catch the vision, but this will allow you to do so much. You probably saw this on main stage when Esteban was demoing some of the connection stuff. But in this data, I have just a column that has a JSON object. And here in the JSON expand tile, I am able to specify what my JSON should look like. I can switch to table view, and I can use auto expand to it will make its best guess at how you want to expand the data that was in that column. And you can see here that you have the ability to go in and change any of this, or to create your own parsing as you are parsing that. And as you are doing it, this table down here will change to show you what's happening to that data. So now you can handle for JSON, those JSON columns, without doing a bunch of hideous, unpredictable text logic, which I have definitely never done. So that's going into a limited beta now. Moving on to talking about some of our AI stuff, here we have what we're calling the fixed input tile. And it allows you to type in data, copy and paste in data, load a file with data in it. It's essentially like a Domo web form, but it's right in Magic ETL, and it lives as part of the data flow definition. And what's kind of cool about this is that we've incorporated AI. So I won't run this live because it takes a little bit, because AI, but you can describe in detail what kind of table you would like to have for sample data, and it will populate the table for you. Those of you who set up data flows before you sometimes have the data ready, like you probably know Mockaroo really well, hopefully this supplants that need to go out and try to create yourself some sample data. You can also do it at the column level. So if I know that I'm going to be getting a data set that has some IP addresses in it, and I need to just mock out what that will look like, or make sure that my logic works with it, I can run that and it'll just populate some sample for me there. I forgot to show you one really cool thing about the SQL tile. I'm going to blame my slides. But one companion to the SQL tile is the ability to edit any existing data flow and open it in Magic ETL. It will keep the same outputs. It will just allow you to open it as a Magic ETL, and you will be able to use Magic ETL with that existing SQL data flow. So for example, here I have kind of a classic example of a MySQL data flow where you're doing all of the calling of indexing, like you know. And when when I go back here and say edit as Magic ETL, it opens it up, it brings in your inputs, it makes the joins that you need, and you'll notice all of these things up here with errors. That's because these are indexes which Magic handles, naturally, and so they're no longer needed, and that type of statement is not allowed in Magic ETL, so you can just delete those, or if it was an error because some syntax you had wasn't allowed, you have the opportunity to then edit it and include it in your data flow. But this should help you convert some of those MySQL and Redshift data flows into Magic for you. Okay, back to AI. That's available now. Yeah, I just forgot it because, yeah. All right, so back to AI and things that are in beta. We currently have a beta for the text generation tile. So you probably have those data sets where you have something like this reviews column, which is really interesting, and if you could pay an intern to go in there and encode all of those in ways that you could analyze it, that would be great, but we don't all have an intern. And so in order to get value out of that data, you can use the tile right in Magic in conjunction with other tiles to analyze that data. So here I've chosen a model. Currently, this is the model that's available to me. And I have given it very specific instructions to identify the language, translate it if it's not in English, find the sentiment that was in the review, parse out the review into different themes for me. And so now, I won't run this because it does take 15 minutes to run this data flow, but when you go look at the data set that ran, you can see that these columns were parsed out with language, sentiment, and theme. Suddenly, that data is a lot more actionable for you and at scale. So. All right, and then one more quick AI sneak, which hopefully the engineer will forgive me for showing this, but we're making it so that you can bring your AI readiness details that you've taken all that time setting up in your data sets through a Magic ETL job. I know it's a request I've heard from many of you. So here I have a data set where I have taken the time to put in some context and synonyms, and then I ran this through a data flow, did some work on the data, and when I look at the output, I can see that it maintained the context and synonyms. Now, that was a quick demo and not very sexy, but what we have coming with that is the ability to also handle for conflicts between data dictionaries. If you bring in multiple data sets that have conflicting information for columns, be able to handle that, to be able to choose which definition you want to keep, and to be able to add your own to columns that you may have created during your Magic ETL process. And I think that is all from me. So back to the slides.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm a Domo employee and a Magic ETL user too, and I love all of these new features. Really makes life a lot easier. We're going to switch tracks just a little bit, but not too much, and talk about the demo that Esteban did on stage, where he actually connected data from Magic ETL. He did not go off and create a data set with a connector that's built with the connector IDE, with Jupyter Notebooks or anything like that. He did that within Magic ETL, or as I like to say, he put the E in Magic ETL, the extract part of it. So to give you some context as to why we're doing this, I read the community posts, I read the Slack posts, and I talk to you, and more it's becoming relevant that you have many systems that you want to connect to and we don't have a pre-built connector for. You want to be able to pull in the connector. You don't necessarily need a connector itself, but you do want an easy and reliable way to connect your data. At the same time, you want to be able to create an efficient data pipeline, because it doesn't do you any good if you need your data every hour, but it takes 2 hours for you to import the data, do the transformation, and the like. So yes, these are things that kind of keep me awake at night. So as we thought about how do we enable this for you, how do we give you these capabilities, and how do we make sure this new framework works for you, we looked at Magic ETL, and Magic ETL has 3 principles that we really like and that we really wanted to take advantage of. So the first principle is Magic ETL is composable and flexible. You can create a data pipeline with building blocks, and you can use levels of building blocks that are pro code, low code, or anywhere in between. We want to give you that same type of flexibility with the new framework. Which, sorry, by the way, you might hear me referring to that as Connections 2.0. Just don't want to have you be confused while I'm going through this. The other principle that Magic ETL does really well is it's extensible. So you do not have to be locked into a particular data flow. You can add tiles whenever you want, modify tiles whenever you want. Why shouldn't you be able to do that with your data ingestion strategy as well? So we really also want to make sure that this framework is extensible for you. So start with a data ingestion strategy if you want. Leave it like that, add it to it, modify it, do whatever you want. But you're not stuck in one spot once you've created your data ingestion strategy. And finally, something that is coming to Magic ETL, but is very prominent when you're looking at connectors and when you're looking at data connection strategies, you don't want to have to recreate a data connection strategy every time you want to go to that same system. If you've created a data connection strategy, you want to be able to reuse it. Or maybe you want to reuse a strategy that somebody else has already built out. We want to be able to give you that same thing in Magic ETL as well. So looking at composable and flexible right now, when we talk about composable, again, we're talking about giving you tiles that you can use. And flexible, we really refer to, do you want to have a pro-code approach, low-code approach, or somewhere in between? So what you saw on stage, what you saw Esteban using on stage were a set of tiles that really represent the protocols that you normally have to use when you're connecting to an API to pull data or ingest data, and then actually parsing the response and taking care of the response. So one of the first ones you saw on stage was actually the Python scripting tile. Now I know Python scripting tile is not new in Magic. What is new, or what will be new starting in beta in September, is Python being able to contact the internet and being able to use external libraries. So you can use the Python tile. Yes, our very smart engineers have figured out a way for you to actually use the Python tile to write code to connect to that external system that you're looking for with external libraries in your customized Python environment. So if you're a pro code user, look for that beta coming out in September. If, however, you're a low code user, again, we want to give you the ability, to configure tiles, not write code. And so again, looking at giving you the capability to have tiles that represent some of the protocols that you normally associate with having to connect data. So you saw Andrea talking about the fixed input tile. The fixed input tile has the ability to upload a file. Does that sound like the file upload connector to you? Yes? Yes, there you go. The HTTP tile gives you the ability to connect to a REST API, which is one of the growing standards within APIs right now. Anyone ever use JSON no-code connector? Yes? Yes. So think JSON no-code connector in Magic ETL. And so these are, and of course, the JSON expander tile that you saw Andrea demo just earlier on, where you can actually take JSON input and parse it out to be in a tabular format. You haven't been able to do that today. Today, if you've wanted to do that with any type of JSON column, you've actually had to write your own SQL script to parse it out. This will let you configure it, not code it. So these are some of the common protocols that we see. There are, of course, other protocols like XML, asynchronous calls, and things like that. Those are planned on the roadmap. But look for the HTTP tile to be in beta in September, and look for the Python tile to be available in September as well. JSON Expander is currently in limited beta right now. So if you do want to try that out before time, you can do that as well. Quickly, just again, the extensible property that we're looking for. We want you to be able to create an ingestion strategy and then not be locked into it until the end of eternity. So you can create an ingestion flow. That's all you want to do. Just go off, connect to a REST API, expand the data, and store it in a data set if you want. That's great. Or if you decide later on, hey, I might need to enrich this data, or I might need to transform this data before it's actually useful to me. You can do that afterwards too. Again, Magic ETL is great at that. And so you can start leveraging all of the tools that Magic ETL provides and apply that to your data ingestion strategy. You're not locked in. And finally, reusable. So this is actually new in Magic. I don't know if you guys saw at the end of Esteban's demo, he created what's known as a procedure, and he also kind of referred to it as a recipe. Did you guys see that? Yes. That is way cool. Because, again, what it lets you do is, it lets you take some of that data ingestion strategy that you might have built and create a reusable component. So now you don't have to have everybody reinvent the wheel and create a separate ingestion strategy all over again every time somebody in your organization wants to connect to the same system. You'll now have procedures. Yes, thank you very much to the very smart engineers in the back of the room there. So we've talked a lot about the Connections 2.0 framework, the new framework that you saw Esteban demoing. I want to be clear. The framework that you saw is an extension right now of our data connection capabilities. It's not replacing anything. You still have Workbench, you still have CLI, and you still have our Connector 1.0 library. We are working on the experience to figure out, okay, well, if you have a connector that's in the current library and you want to put it in Magic ETL, can you do that? We're working on that. But don't panic about any of the data sets you have currently created with the connector library right now. Don't worry about that. We are still supporting that. And in fact, you might have seen last year, but hopefully you didn't see, there were 15 mandatory API upgrades that we've done to our connectors last year. We also applied 100+ customer-requested updates to our connectors and new connectors. So we are definitely still supporting our current connector library. That's not changing. We also added some new features around scheduling and schema management. So in particular in the JSON webhook connector, in giving you the ability to schedule your connectors in your time zone, so you don't have to do time zone math and don't have to worry about, okay, is it DST yet? Do I need to change that? Don't have to do that. If any of you have used the JSON no-code connector or use it heavily, you might have noticed that we gave you the ability to do dynamic parameters, changes to the body, all of those great things. And we added a JSON connector that does write back and supports OAuth. So you don't need to create your own connector to do that anymore. We've already given you that. Yeah. Thank you. Connector instance permissions, we've also now allowed you to control who has access to actually see connectors and power up connectors. And finally, we've given you some more controls around OAuth connectors. And in the past, you've had a lot of trouble with OAuth connectors where you've had to distribute client IDs and secrets. We now have functionality available that will let you store one set of client ID and secrets, one pair of client ID and secrets, and then let them be shared with the rest of the org without actually making them visible to the rest of the org. So you don't have to manage that client ID and secret distribution anymore. But there's still some more to come. Available soon. How many of you have used the Facebook Ads Advanced connector? Just asking. Okay, for those of you who've used it, how many accounts do you have? A lot. Okay, so how many data sets do you have? A lot. Okay, so with our multi-account framework, we'll actually now let you attach multiple accounts to one data set. So you don't have to create multiple data sets for each account. And if you look at the screen there, we'll actually show you which of the accounts failed and let you run that specific account again. So this framework is coming out within the May release. Another thing which is very frequently asked, I think there's at least 5 posts in the community for the same thing, is the ability to clone a data set. So that way you can copy the settings of one data set to a new one. You can test and play that with a new data set without affecting the original one. That's coming in May as well. You'll be able to do that. And then also, who has Parquet files that they need to ingest? Yes, we will have native support for Parquet files in S3 and Azure starting in May. That will be available too. And also, along the same lines of the meta select and schema tiles, we'll also be providing the ability for you to actually manage your schema on the dataset details page itself. So that way you don't actually need to use the meta select tiles. Sorry.
Not for that purpose, at least.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, not for that purpose at least. And this wouldn't be an AI conference if I didn't also mention AI readiness and how we're bringing that to connectors. So Andrea showed you a lovely demo and talked through how Magic is going to try to propagate your AI readiness, your data dictionary definitions, your synonyms throughout the data flow. But wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to write those definitions yourself? Wouldn't it be great if we could apply those for you at ingestion time if we knew what they were? Yeah? That's what we're going to be doing. So look for the beta for that sometime September, November. And because all of these features are built by humans, and it's a vast library, lots of things that we do. I need to make a shout out to my team too. These are the people who ensure delivery of connectors, support of connectors, and new implementations, and make sure that in general people can get their data in. You might see them at the product booth, so if you do see them, please feel free to say hello and thank you. So just to wrap up, some of the themes you've heard today. Magic ETL has a ton of great quality of life improvements available now and coming soon in beta. And also Magic ETL is working towards higher code functionality. As Andrea put it at one point, a love letter to pro code users. In the connection space, we're trying to leverage Magic ETL to simplify that connection building experience for you and data ingestion experience. And we also have we're also putting AI throughout the data ingestion and transformation pipeline. So some of the features we talked about coming in beta, my slide doesn't have this, but there's the JSON expand tile, there is the AI readiness tile, AI propagation tile, text analysis, things like that. Contact either Andrea or myself to get more information about that. And that is actually the end of our presentation. Feel free to contact us. Our names are on the slide. You can always find us in the product booth, find us on Slack, find us in the community, send carrier pigeons, anything. But we're always happy to talk to you. And with that, we're going to go to Q&A. So, go ahead. So we have one here. Sorry.
Hi, so for the connectors, I saw in the setting for Python APIs, right? So you can select the account, which type of account that you want to connect with. But also, is there a way to pass in parameters so that your ETL can be less rigid and run slightly more dynamically?
So can you expand a bit more on that? What do you mean there?
So for example, maybe we are pulling 3 or 5 different reports where the API URL would just vary with the report type parameter,
Yeah.
something like that,
Yes.
or
Yes.
date,
Yes, that's planned.
Yep, it's on the
planned.
roadmap.
Yes.
Do you know time?
Look for the beta in September.
Thank you.
Sorry, there's a...
Are there any plans to make the HTTP request connector like do put requests and write back?
So
Or-
the JSON write back connector that I mentioned with OAuth has put, post, and patch capabilities.
And is that like in Magic, or do you have to?
That will be in Magic as
That
well.
will be in Magic.
Yeah.
Okay, well then perfect.
Sorry.
Hello. I saw in the sections that you could do like an at someone's name. Like, how does that work? Do I get like an email, a buzz message, or something?
That is just formatting and showmanship. I'm sorry. I would like to implement that, but like I was just calling it out. Like my colleague was maybe coming into my data flow, and I'm like, "Yo, Dan, go here and put this here." Like, but that would be neat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, there's a question here, Aaron.
Hi. What are the performance implications of the new ETL nodes that are going in? I know that not all nodes are equally performant, I guess. Some take a little bit longer to do their action than others. So yeah, just kind of generally like what.
I don't think that there's any performance implications beyond just what's normal in Magic. There's not. Yeah, I don't think that you should run into any issues.
That's fair enough. Thank you.
Question over
Oh, I can just talk about what are the credit implications of like the new, I don't know what it's called, the AI tile, whatever. Credit implications of the new AI tile, or any other tiles that may have new credit implications similar to
Yeah,
Python
I think
scripting
we're
tile.
still working through that. I am super interested in making sure that it matches the value that you're getting and is not just like nickel and diming you, of course. So.
Also, with sections, I saw an old Ideas Exchange post about commenting out tiles.
Yeah.
I would also want to expand that to sections as well, like grouping together a whole section of tiles, commenting them out so they don't run for testing.
Yeah, that's kind of, so that's not officially on my near-term roadmap, but that is something that's been circulating in the back of my head for quite some time, the ability to comment out streams of tiles.
Thank you.
I was a little bit late, so sorry if this was answered already. In the preview capabilities, I thought I heard there was targeted filtering within preview. So I saw that the limit was increased to 5 million, but let's say I've got 20 million rows and I know I'm working with this specific grouping or dimension. Is there a way to make a filter tile in Magic within the limit include those specific rows?
Not yet. That's something that the engineering team and I have been talking about a lot, though. We have some things under development that are moving us in that direction. So look for more in the coming months.
Thank you very much.
Do the stored procedures live in like a library? Like, how would you access them? What? Because I saw like you shared how they are created, but not how you would access them later.
Yeah. Yep. So that's still in development. That's what we didn't show it to you because it's not available yet. A screen of code is probably not that interesting. But the intention is for you to be able to search for them within your standard Domo search and find them, and then also to be able to search for them within the Magic canvas. So if you're building an ETL and you're like, oh, I need that one procedure, and go search for it in your left bar, and then it'll be there, or to be able to, favorite things and have them show up for you by default in that left pane. So that's what we're working toward right now. And I wanted to mention that those will be good, not just for the connection use case, but like just Magic in general, right? Like the ability to create these recipes and share them amongst your instances, yeah.
Aaron, there's a question here.
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off what he said, right, regarding credit consumption. I know you guys are releasing the sequel already. Is that going to be consuming credits?
The SQL tile is just part of the Magic data flow, so it will be the same credit consumption as you're currently paying. It's
Okay.
just a new tile.
And what about the connection to APIs? Like with
We are
JSON?
still exploring what
Okay.
what pricing model makes sense there.
Last question.
How we are going to search the procedures? Like, is there any filters available, like how in data sets or data breaks? Are those kind of filters available to search for the procedure? Or
It's
with
not
the
built
name?
yet, so we're working on it. We're trying to figure out what that's exactly going to look like. So I'll have more info for you once it is further down the line.
Will this presentation be available online later? And if so, when?
I believe it will be available online later. I don't know when. I don't know if anyone in the back of the room who's in charge knows when, but yes, we will make it available to you.